Happy Easter, everyone. Today is a day of celebration. Today we celebrate that not only did God come to earth as a human, taking on flesh and blood to live as one of us in the person of Jesus, that not only did Jesus suffer and die for us in our place, but on the third day, Jesus rose again. We celebrate both the cross and the empty tomb, the empty grave. We celebrate that in Jesus we too are raised to new life. Death and sin are defeated forever. The power of death is defeated and we are resurrection people. Today for our Moravian reading Sundays, we usually focus on the Psalms. Psalm 118 verse 1 and 2, verse 14 to 24. Psalm 118 starts with that ancient song of celebration. Give thanks to the Lord, for he is good. His love endures forever. Let Israel, God's people, say, his love endures forever. And today I want to challenge us, encourage us, not only to know in our hearts and our minds the reality of resurrection, but to proclaim it, to confess the goodness of God in raising Christ from the dead, to proclaim it and shout it. I was going to say from the rooftops, perhaps today's equivalent is through social media, but to make a noise about Jesus. And that's the thing that we pick up in today's reading in verse 15. Verse 15 says, shouts of joy and victory resound in the tents of the righteous. I thought it was interesting when I read that the sounds of joy and victory did not resound in the temple, but in the tents, the homes, the places where God's people live. And I find that really interesting. This is our second lockdown Easter celebration. But it is not stopping God's people from resounding with shouts and songs of victory and joy. Our songs of victory and joy are rising from our tents, our homes, the places that we are in this day. Verse 17 says, I will not die but live and will proclaim what the Lord has done. Jesus has rescued us from death. And so whilst we have breath in our lungs in these mortal physical bodies, whilst that will one day face decay unless the Lord returns, and we long for that, but whilst we have breath in our lungs, in our physical bodies, let us use that breath to proclaim the Lord's death and resurrection, what God has done for us. Verse 22 and verse 23, the stone the builders rejected has become the capstone or cornerstone. The Lord has done this and it is marvellous in our eyes. You know, there's something about the gospel that is unexpected, unpredicted, easy to overlook and to miss. And many of the world will overlook it today. And Jesus is described as like the capstone, the centre stone in a stone arch, or the cornerstone, the foundation stone in a building. And the imagery here is, just imagine the builders, the architects, walking around an ancient quarry site. They're looking at the quality of the stone, the different stones that have been cut out of the rock, and they walk past and ignore the most important stone. The stone that is going to become the chief stone, the cornerstone, the capstone, the stone from which all other stones are built off, as we become living stones built into a living temple for God's presence to dwell forever. Finally, verse 24. Maybe you can join with me in shouting this aloud from your home today. This is the day the Lord has made. We will rejoice and be glad in it. I smile when I say it because it's what my mum says to me and to my boys every time she sees us. This is the day the Lord has made. We will rejoice. It's a choice to rejoice today. I don't know what you're going through. I would never say anything that would belittle that. I don't know the anguish or the pain or the hurt or the suffering that you are enduring, but I do know this. The resurrection reality is greater. Let's rejoice in it. Let's proclaim it. Let's cling onto it. That the same power that raised Christ from the dead is at work within us right now and will transform us for eternity with Jesus. Christ is risen. We proclaim it from the rooftops this day.